Hello, not been out for such a long time. I thought I'd dig the Pashley up from the back of the garage. I did put it away for the winter, but it's a nice fine day and I've not been for a ride for a couple of months. I've been ill and this is the first time back out, so yeah, might as well do it in style and comfort. Bit noisy here because I'm near the road. National Cycle Network, and I'm going to go over the bridge, over the Millennium Bridge, and head up to the Priory and the castle. Slightly different route than I've been with you before, but let's go. Times like this, you realise just how heavy a Pashley is. Well, one of these anyway. The Governor will be a lot lighter, but the Roadster, yeah, quite heavy. Need to give my lungs a rest. Then I'll cycle up this bit, show you somewhere up there, as long as it's not too muddy. Well, that was steeper than it looks. Either that or I'm out of shape, or a bit of both. Now then, not sure if you'll be able to see what this sign says with it being against the bright sky, but see if I can zoom in. There you go, Roman bathhouse. Bet you didn't know this existed up here. Whew. Well, it's not all muddy. Let's go and have a look. There we go. So when this was a Roman fort, back in Roman times, this was the bathhouse of the garrison that was stationed here to protect the River Lune. There we've got probably the oldest piece of wall in Lancaster, part of a Roman wall. And we've got all the foundations around here. You can see all the columns there. They would have supported a floor. The heat would have been going under the floor. There'd have been a furnace somewhere. All the hot fumes from the fire would have been going under the floor and up the little chimneys in the wall, basically. The system's called a hypercaust. You can look them up. There's a few around the country actually that you can go and see. This is one of the smaller ones and one of the least well known, and by complete contrast from Roman times to a 1960s monstrosity. Wonder how many Roman ruins are under that, you know. I've got the information board and a lovely little octagonal tower. I think that's in the vicarage yard. A nice information board there. Could do with a wipe, but with COVID and everything over the last couple of years, it's probably been a little bit neglected. Last time I came up here, somebody had been correcting things in pencil, I think. Probably one of the students having a bit of a laugh. But yeah, one or two things were corrected. Grammar and such like. Can't remember exactly. I think I took a photograph of it at the time because it amused me. Now then, follow your nose. I won't be too keen to sniff that right about now. Looks a bit looks foul. Anyway, let's get back up that hill. Yeah, I'm pushing it. Don't judge. Bike locking my panniers and a flask of brew. This thing weighs more than 50 pounds. So yeah. More steps. Nice little view from up here. It's like the sun's shining over in sunny Morecambe. We're in the churchyard of the Priory, Lancaster Priory. And there's a sad sign of the times. Just because you disagree with something from the past doesn't mean you can paint all over it and ruin it. I'm not saying the slave trade was good. It was, excuse me French, I'm about to swear then, it's evil, an evil thing of the past. But if you try and cancel the past, you forget it. And those that forget the past are doomed to repeat it in the future. On the subject of vandalism, that lovely lady used to have a head in living memory, but someone would have thought it was a jelly jape to knock it off. Used to have railings around it as well. It's a shame that people can't leave things alone. Well, I mentioned the Priory. There we go. 2:15 and it's still light. Must be heading towards spring. Various things there pointing us in various directions. Like most things about now, it needs a wipe. There's Dora the Explorer's backpack. This whole site on top of this hill would have been occupied by a Roman fort. From yeah, reasonably early on. This was a wild frontier, you know. It's a Brigantes tribe were around here, and yeah, the Romans never fully pacified them, but they were too busy fighting among themselves. Anyway, when the Romans were here, when Christianity first started becoming popularised throughout the empire, there could well have been a church here. And after the Romans left, there are remains of Saxon buildings here, so it could have been a Saxon church for from when they came, you know, 5th, 6th centuries, or when they converted to Christianity, 6th, 7th century. This would have been part of Northumbria by the time they got here. And then it's been yeah, constantly built and modified ever since. I'll show you outside in a minute. And after that, we'll go and have a look at the castle. sometimes do with a wider angle lens. As you can hear, we're near the train tracks as well. But, lovely building. And this, when I worked in Lancaster, when I was working, this was a good place to come and eat your lunch if you didn't want to be mithered. Didn't always work out that way though. Tend to remember getting mithered more often than not. Now then, if you look down there, see part of the castle wall, but right up on the top, Ashton Memorial, built by Lord Ashton to honour his dead wife, or his deceased wife. Sounds a bit harsh, dead wife. But, I'll have to do a video up there at some point. It's a butterfly house as well, which you can possibly see, and a nice cafe. Anyway, getting a bit windy. Let's zoom back out. And castle next. There we go, Lancaster Castle. So this area, as I mentioned, will have been fortified since Roman times, and I think the Saxons pretty much ignored it, although possibly the post-Roman kingdoms, the British kingdom, Reged, would have utilised the fortifications here. We know after the Norman invasion, the Normans certainly made use of what was here and constructed a timber building to try and subdue, you know, keep the area subdued. You know, they were harsher in the north than they were in the south, you know. Cheers, Normans. Anyway, that part there, or at least the main part of it, that's the keep. That's the oldest part of the castle, and that was constructed during the anarchy, you know, time of the reign of King Stephen and Empress Matilda. They were fighting like silly buggers, so King Stephen asked, they were both William the Conqueror's grandchildren, but they asked King David of Scotland to look after this bit. So that was probably built by King David I of Scotland, way back when. The recent storms have been quite destructive. There's a lovely old tree here. I think it was an old sycamore, very big girth on it, huge tree, but that was a victim of the weather. Came down and yeah, took part of that wall with it. Quite lucky that there was no damage to the castle itself. Moving down from the keep, we get this later addition here, and this corner, for those that like grim histories, is Hanging Corner. From 1800, well, before 1800, they took prisoners condemned to hang up to near where the memorial I showed you before, the Ashton Memorial, right up there on the moors, and I'll show you something interesting on that trail where they took them as well. But after 1800, public executions were done here. So people round in the churchyard, after the assizes, when the hangings were due, they'd all be lined up all across this wall here, all down here, and yeah, in even more sort of grim fashion, the families of the condemned were allowed close access. So when they were pushed out of that window, basically onto the gibbet that was here, they would dangle. You know, the quick drop wasn't always used and wasn't always effective when it was. So they dangled, their legs would be swinging round, or if they were tied together, they'd be twitching like something not right, evacuating various bodily functions. So their families would jump up and grab onto the legs and try to use their weight to snap the neck of the poor condemned. And the sort of things that you could be condemned to hanging for were ridiculous back then. You know, the sort of things you wouldn't even get a slap on the wrist for now, half of them. You know, they weren't just murderers and, you know, larcenists and such like. Yeah, just stealing to feed yourself, you know. It's, muttering oaths to religious nonconformists was another one. Yeah, prior to that, you know, you could get hung for your religion. That's poor do. You know, we should be thankful of the world we live in today. More steps, not going down these though, down the setted streets around the castle. Some lovely old Georgian houses. Nice place to explore, you know, it's, as long as you're reasonably able-bodied. There's a nice little cobbled streets, or setted streets should I say, and it's a bit quieter than the rest of the town. Great view from the path leading up to the castle, and again some fantastic old cottages, and these are cobbles rather than sets, and there you've got John o' Gaunt's Gate. There's the man himself, Duke of Lancaster, John o' Gaunt. You see those spikes on top? They used to be surrounded by razor wire as well, and there's a reason for that. So since, well, up until 2011, this was Her Majesty's prison, Lancaster Castle. As evidenced by the sign there. There you go, it's an offence to help a prisoner to escape or attempt to escape. Who'd have thought it? Oh, bringing in intoxicating liquor or tobacco. Smuggling letters or articles. But yeah, Lancaster Neck. Until, well, it's 11 years ago really, and that stopped being so. Great big thick gates, and they do tours in here as well. You know, I'd highly recommend it. They can tell you a lot more about this place than I can. Big portcullis there. Well, just been told I can't wheel my bike into the castle grounds, so I'll have to cut it short. I could lock it up here, but as was suggested, entirely at the owner's risk. And as Lancaster's a bit of a hot spot for thievery of bicycles and such like, I'll give it a miss. There is a CCTV there, but yeah, no one ever gets caught. No one ever gets prosecuted for it. And that's my pride and joy. No one's having it. Here you go, sunshine. Golden Lion pub. That is where people condemned to hang up on the moors were given the last drink. They were brought up here on the way up to the moors, and they could have a pint in there. That was the last drink they had. One small mercy for people about to dangle. As I make my way past the old Mitchell's Brewery behind the Golden Lion, I'd just like to thank you all for watching. If there's any subjects that you'd like me to go into more detail about and make a video about, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. I do appreciate it. I also appreciate a thumbs up every now and then, and the like at the bottom right there. Yeah, just heading home now, just through the more derelict part of town. There was going to be an arterial road here. It would have split the town in two. Would have been a real shame. But they started by pulling all the houses down. But well, anyway, time to go home. Thank you.